How's it going, everyone? It's Tommy from Worship 1000. Today is February 21st, 2020, and today we're primarily going to focus on this snowstorm that's going to dump a decent amount of snow throughout the Midwest as well as the Northeast and could cause some havoc on the roads for today and tomorrow. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current radar, and you see that there's a large area of snow extending from Minnesota to Wisconsin, and we see the heavier bouts of snow more towards Iowa. At this point, we do see some moderate to heavy snow squalls forming in right around Iowa, and while I wouldn't say they're in excess of 1 inch per hour, they're definitely, I'd say, in excess of at least a half an inch per hour, which is enough snow and snow rate that's high enough to at least make it difficult for the plows to clean up the roadways. So in Iowa, I'd recommend just to stay indoors unless it's an extreme emergency, because it's just not going to be, you just don't want to risk going out in snow conditions like this, where we're seeing moderate to heavy snow bands at times, and it won't be too long before it goes away, fortunately. So I'd rather wait inside rather than risk going out, because again, the snow squalls are very high, well, relatively high, and could be dangerous and cause slick roadways. But you see that it's not a ton of snow. It's not an extremely large snowstorm. You see that there isn't much. It doesn't really have any sort of mid-latitude cyclone type of characteristics, where we see a band of thunderstorms extending to the south and all this Gulf of Mexico moisture feeding towards the storm, as it's relatively weak, so it won't dump a ton of snow. However, it's definitely at least something to keep in mind headed into tomorrow, especially in the Northeast, where it's going to add on to the snow you're already experiencing. So let's take a look at the Futurecast radar, and you're going to see that the snow should end right around tonight, very early in the afternoon, very late in the afternoon, I meant to say, to very early Sunday night, where the snow should be out of Iowa, I'd say by sunset at right around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Iowa, you guys shouldn't be in the snow for very long. And then moving forward, you see Wisconsin, the snow approaches you later during the afternoon, headed into the evening hours, where we do see some heavy snow bands right around Chicago, where you see this heavy snow squall forming based off of what the Futurecast radar is forecasting over the next several hours. Now, when it comes to identifying where exactly that heavy snow squall will be, even when we're only around 24 hours out, it's still relatively difficult, because we don't know how much unstable air in the short-term future will be there, or how or where the movement of this storm exactly. And when it comes to forecasting where that heaviest snow squall will be, it's always very difficult, because with snow squalls, they're very small, so you need to be extremely precise with the location. But based off of the Futurecast radar, it's bringing a heavy snow squall through Chicago and Milwaukee, so you guys need to watch out for that, as I assume this snow squall is in excess of just under 3/4 of an inch an hour. So you guys need to watch out throughout Wisconsin head into Sunday evening. The good news is that this is going to impact a lot of the Great Lakes states during the Sunday evening, where not many people drive out on the road. So that's definitely good news. It's better to have it at this time rather than during rush hour during the weekday, where everyone has to travel for work or for school or any other instances. So the good news is that this should impact you guys Sunday night rather than early morning. But you see that by very late Sunday night and into overnight on Monday, you see that the snow begins to swallow up Michigan, and we see a decent amount of snow throughout Michigan. And you might be noticing that as we continue to move forward in the run, you see that we're seeing an extending band of thunderstorms on the southern side, which should increase the snowfall rate potential, especially as it moves closer to the Northeast, where it's going to encounter a little bit more unstable air to induce some thunder shower activity on the backside of this storm. I don't expect any of these thunderstorms to be severe, mainly because these will form at night where there isn't as much unstable air as, let's say, during the day, where we have the shortwave radiation rapidly heating up the Earth, as opposed to nighttime where everything is cooling down and where a lot of that heat is being released into the atmosphere. So as a result, I don't expect much of any severe thunderstorms overnight, which is definitely good news for you guys. However, this is important to point out because it shows that there's going to be at least some sort of moisture train to continue feeding this storm and to maintain its strength as it heads towards the northeast, and maybe even strengthen it just a little bit to where it could be more of a problem in the northeast where more areas will experience heavier snow. But you see that the snow extends to Michigan, and then we do get a little bit of mixing towards southern Michigan, and this will be important to identify over the next several hours because we need to determine where exactly that rain snow line will be to determine the exact accumulation. However, at this point, the snowfall forecast for those well up in the north of Michigan and well up to the north or to the northwest of the rain snow line is pretty certain for you guys. Any minor differences in the forecasts won't make a big difference for those just to the northwest of the rain snow line. However, if your borderline around the rain snow line is definitely going to be an uncertain forecast for you guys, because any small shift in temperature could mean the difference of getting no snow to maybe 5 inches of snow. So we just have to wait and see how the storm moves and maneuvers and what the temperature will be, especially when we're right around the Interstate 95 corridor, where Monday afternoon it should be the worst just to the northwest of the Interstate 95 corridor. And there's going to be another one of those Interstate 95 corridor type of storms. If you're southwest of the Interstate 95 corridor, southeast of the Interstate 95 corridor, don't expect much of any snow. But if you're in the northwest of it, you should expect around 1 to 3 to 5 inches of snow. And for those borderline right around the Interstate 95 corridor, it seems like the forecast models are leaning more towards mainly being a rain event for those along the Interstate 95 corridor. If you take a look at the European model, you see that right around New York City is expecting pretty much no snow. But if you only go, I'd say only 5 miles to the northwest, you're under 2 to 4 inches of snow based off of what the European model is saying. And if we take a look at the European model's forecast when it comes to precipitation type and the rate of precipitation, you're going to see that it's going to be a very close forecast for you guys along the Interstate 95 corridor, because any small differences could mean the difference of 1 to 3 inches to no snow at all. But you see the European model is expecting this to be another one of those Interstate 95 corridor storms where the rain snow line will be right along the Interstate 95 corridor. And this is as a result of the higher temperatures when you're in the city, since pavement holds more heat energy than grass or the suburbs. That means that the temperature is slightly higher right around the urban areas rather than the suburban areas, where there's a lot less pavement to hold a lot of that heat or to absorb a lot of that energy from the sun. So as a result, it's going to be just slightly warmer in New York City and Philadelphia to make this mainly a mixing event to a rain event at the most likely scenario. However, again, if that temperature drops, I'd say 1 to 2 degrees, then you could receive snowfall accumulation in the big cities such as Philadelphia, New York City, and potentially even Washington, D.C. So it's going to be a close forecast, but I want to say more likely than not, you guys won't experience any snowfall accumulation from this. So if you're hoping for snow in New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C., I'd rather keep your expectations low that this is mainly going to be a rain and snow mixing event to a rain and snow event with no accumulation, because at this point it's a more likely scenario, I'd say. But there's still definitely that possibility that there could be at least some snowfall accumulation. But for those to the northwest of the Interstate 95 corridor, then this will be a decently sized snowstorm for you guys that could definitely cause some trouble if you're on the highways or the roadways, and it might be another one of those events where you need to shovel out the snow out of your driveway. It won't be that light to the point where you could deal with it, because now the computer models are forecasting a slightly heavier snowfall threat than before, because before they were expecting the computer models were forecasting a little bit less, more towards 1 to 3 inches, but now they're leaning more towards 3 to 5 inches of snow, and it's as a result of the increased convection they expect right around Pennsylvania by the time it reaches the Northeast, where they expect a little bit more unstable air than usual, and that'll cause rapid convection. Well, I wouldn't say rapid, because this storm isn't strong enough to be considered to have rapid convection occurring, but it's expected to bring at least more convection than originally forecast, to the point where we could see some heavy snowfall rates at times right around eastern Pennsylvania and northwestern New Jersey. And you see right here, you see the darker whites, which represent very heavy snowfall. And the good news is that this should move out quick, so it won't bring a ton of snow with it. It won't be, I wouldn't say it'll be major, but that snowfall is going to accumulate very fast, and that's a concern, because even during events where it isn't considered major snowfall accumulation, like let's say 3 inches, the fact that when a snowstorm dumps those 3 inches of snow at a very fast pace is concerning, because even if it's only 3 inches of snow, if it falls at a very fast rate, the plows can't keep up, and that causes a major concern, and that could cause major havoc on the roadways. So I'd say you guys definitely need to be watching in the Northeast. Do not take this lightly, because that 3 to 6 inches of snowfall could dump very fast, and it could definitely cause havoc, especially right around rush hour, where at around 1, 2 to 3 p.m. it should be the worst for a lot of the Northeast, extending to upstate New York as well, with some areas of snow, and as well as Vermont and New Hampshire. So as for the uncertainty of this storm, regarding this storm, it's pretty certain that this scenario, based on what the GFS and the European model is saying, is accurate at this point. It's unlikely that we're going to see any major drastic changes within a 24-hour period at this point, as this is a most likely snowfall accumulation you should expect. And both the GFS and the European model are agreeing with the snowfall forecast, so there isn't really any uncertainty. There isn't really much uncertainty, thanks to how accurate and how similar the two primary computer models are. So if you're holding your breath for some snow, maybe in the more coastal regions of the Northeast, I would say at this point you shouldn't hold your breath on it, because it's pretty much almost inevitable that you guys won't experience snowfall accumulation along coast. And for those cities in the Northeast, such as New York City and Philadelphia and Washington DC, it could definitely be a close call for you guys, since you're going to be right around the rain snow line. But I'd say more likely than not, you guys won't experience any snowfall accumulation from this. So if we compare the GFS and the European model, you see that they're very, very similar. They're both bringing the heaviest snow in the same areas, such as the Adirondacks and portions of West Virginia as well. And you see that they're both predicting a good area of 3 to 5 inches throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and even 3 to 5 inches in Iowa. They're both forecasting at this point. So there's high certainty with this forecast, as I don't think there's going to be much room for debate of where exactly this will go, who this will exactly impact, as pretty much you're basically seeing who will experience snowfall accumulation based off of this map right now. So if I were to, so this is my snowfall forecast based off of my experience, but based off of what the two main computer models are saying. And yeah, they're very similar in terms of their this map is very similar to the computer models forecast, as I pretty much combined the two models and made it into just one map. And you see that I'm predicting a large area of 3 to 6 inches, so it's definitely something in Pennsylvania and a lot of New Jersey and northwestern New Jersey, just northwest of the New York City metropolitan area, and also upstate New York is going to experience a good area of 3 to 6 inches, which is definitely something that you don't want to underestimate, because 3 to 6 inches could definitely cause some havoc on the roadways, even though it isn't considered major, I'd say. And obviously you need obviously it's 3 to 6 inches is big enough snow to where you need to shovel your driveway, because there's no way you're gonna drive out of your driveway with, let's say, 5 inches of snow. So there's definitely at least something to keep in mind in the Northeast, and you see that in Iowa and southern Minnesota, 3 to 6 inches is also forecast. So watch out if you're right around that area. And then you see that a lot of them, and for most of the Great Lakes states, it's going to be 1 to 3 inches. So nothing major. Just keep in mind of 1 to 3 that you're forecasted to get 1 to 3 inches tonight. And also for for eastern New England, I'd say it's going to be mainly 1 to 3 inches, this low pressure system is going to move far to the south to really bring that major heavy snowfall to New England, or as heavy of a snowfall threat to as the mid-Atlantic states are experiencing to New England. So for the most part, I'm expecting 1 to 3 inches of snow. And I actually want to make a disclaimer that, like, in the areas just like southeast of Boston and right around Boston, I do not expect 1 to 3 inches there, because I just made a mistake on the map. I included Rhode Island and southeastern Massachusetts when I shouldn't have, as I'd say more likely than not Boston won't experience snow from this. But again, it's going to be a very close forecast for you guys, and it really all depends on how north or south this low pressure system goes. If this moves a little bit further south, that'll allow more cold air to filter in to the northeast. However, if this moves a little bit further to the north, then it makes it far less likely that you guys will experience any snowfall accumulation from this. So we need to keep in mind of any small shifts in the low pressure system's trajectory, because it could make a big difference whether the big cities experience some snowfall accumulation or not. But I'd say more likely than not, no snowfall accumulation should be expected from this storm. And as for any other snowstorms we need to keep in mind of in the future, we do have another clipper that's expected to move through the extreme northern portion of the United States. And if we take a look at that right now, it won't be anything major, as for the most part it's going to be a quiet week when it comes to winter weather. We will have some snow showers coming off the Northwest Pacific, but it's not going to dump much snow at all. And you see that there's a little bit of clipper system moving through after this snowstorm passes through, but nothing major. And yeah, for the most part, it's going to be a quiet week for the United States, mainly because we're in a positive Arctic oscillation where the jet stream isn't really dipping very far to create an area of unstable air to create a potentially potent trough to bring a lot of snow. So for the most part, I don't expect any major snowstorms, at least for the near future. But anyways, guys, I think make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on notifications if you want to see weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.